The morning of February 26th, one day before the final submission date, is when I turned in my final render to the Infinite Journeys Challenge hosted by the Punisher, aka Clinton Jones. As I didn't think I'd be making this video, I didn't really record my progress as I was making it, but I can go back now and kind of give you a short breakdown and take apart my render for you so you can kind of see what I did and see who helped me along the way. Hopefully it can help you in the future. Alright, let's get started. So, first off, I downloaded this free model online just to give myself a base to what I was working with because I wasn't sure what style cryo chamber I was going to go for. So I found this and I found it fairly convenient that it was partially made for me. So I took this and modified it to create a longer tube. And I knew that the cryo chamber had to look frosty inside, so I went online to find a great tutorial by GarageFarm.net Academy about making a frosted window. This helped me greatly in the material. As you see here, you can copy that. Although this is slightly tweaked down to what he had because I did not need as much frost. I wanted it to be more visible on the inside so you can see the person better. Then I duplicated my glass to make this outer chamber. I cut out pieces of it to have a shape that I kind of wanted to surround the initial glass, and I then extruded parts in and out and kind of formed the little intricacies of the outer chamber, and I simply played around with it until I found something that I liked. And in order not to do the same thing twice, I used a mirror modifier to copy what I did to the other side. Then I extruded a circle object to make the outer chamber's interior lights that would shine onto the interior chamber glass and give it a nice look, because we know everything sci-fi and space-wise has lights. Now, putting all the pieces together, it's starting to look like something. Next, while my chamber was fairly complete, I wanted to see what a character would look like inside the chamber. So I generated this character from a random character generator. Anything would work. After placing the character inside the chamber, I was able to fine-tune the frost to my liking to make sure the character is visible enough and it's frosty looking enough. I did duplicate my glass again to make a secondary outer glass because the first glass looked so much like ice that light was reacting very weirdly with it when it was bouncing off. So in order to give it a nice glossy finish, I simply encapsulated the initial icy glass with this regular glass material. And to give the entire chamber a bit more realism, I added tubes, many tubes, which is hardly seen in the animation itself, but in the grand scheme of things, I think it makes it look much better. I followed a great tutorial by Polyfjord, however you say that, on how to create robotic arms, and I used the basic concept I learned from that in order to apply it to these tubes. They work really the same way. Now, jumping into the actual scene given to us by Clinton Jones, I rounded out the edges of the window to make it more spacey-like, because spaceships don't have sharp edges, as we know. And again, more of the extrude in and out of the wall, just to make it look like it's something else besides a blank wall, and I added textures to it. And although this is supposed to be in the future, my future is very grungy and industrial looking. I imported the initial chamber that I created and simply tore it down in edit mode to make it look kind of broken. I extruded out the exterior window and added lights on the inside because it's a spaceship, obviously. And for the final exterior window, I showed that it was damaged by fragmenting it using the free Blender plugin Cell Fracture. Great stuff. Now back to the inside, I had to add my dead character. I took a random skeleton model off the internet, and I didn't know what skeletons would look like in space, so I gave him a texture of rust. Makes no sense, but I think it looks great. In order to make the whole scene more volumetric, I added not only a volume shader, but also dust particles from Blender Made Easy's tutorial on how to create dust particles in Eevee, which still works in cycles. Then use the same concept from that video to create the shattered glass pieces that are floating around the ship. I then applied the same concepts again on the outside for the asteroid field, which Pop Nerds Create an Asteroid Field in 5 minutes tutorial helped a lot with the texturing and modeling of the asteroid. And although I fiddled around with trying out a 3D nebula for my exterior scene, I realized that it was more trouble than it was worth because it was slowing down my computer, it would probably slow down the render times, and honestly this way works just as good. It's very simple. It's just an image plane around the scene with an emission texture on the image. With my scene mostly complete, it was time to add minute details such as the screen and lights. The flickering on the screen and the lights were both created with the help of the Creative Shrimp tutorial animating lights. Here are my shader nodes for my flickering UI. I then added more details like the ship logo, some more broken scraps and materials flying around to give it more of a disaster look, and more lights. Much more lights with flicker. But once initially rendered, the lights were not given the effect, the oomph I wanted. So following the Ducky 3D tutorial on bloom and glow helped achieve the final effect very well. And that's basically it. I don't know exactly how long it took me to make it all together, but here are some of the renders.